Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Richmond Raceway, Race 3 of the AT&T Cup Series here on CBS, and we're under the lights for Saturday night racing here in Virginia. 40 cars set to do battle across 400 laps for 300 miles around this 3/4 mile oval. We're glad you're with us for action here on CBS. Let's jump right into the action here in Richmond. 2 races down. Top 20 in points currently look like this. Top 16 get into the chase for the Cup. Way early to tell who's going to actually be in, who's not going to be in. We know one driver that's not going to be in. Points leader going into this race after a win at Atlanta, Evangeline Porter, atop the leaderboard here in the Cup Series. Not here in Richmond, over in Melbourne for the Champ Car World Series season opener. Victor Oldham, the best full-time driver in the field based on points. Second place in the points. He is second on the starting grid here as well. Glenn Delahaye currently leading the rookies in third, ahead of Carmen, Sienna, Celeste Sullivan, Megan Davenport top 6, Wyatt Jones also in Melbourne. We'll see him next week in Bristol. Violet Hale in 8th, Thomas Rogers 9th, Sonia Walker, the defending Cup Series champion, sitting top 10, just barely, tied with Penn Harrington on points. Cole Matthews, Jack Kreider, Taylor Cording, Ben Kreider. They are out your top 15. Daryl Bird, your Daytona 500 winner. Not have a great time in Atlanta last week. Dropped from the top 3 down to 16 in a 3-way tie there with Ben Kreider and Kira Rigney. Roberto Crown Jr. on the outside looking into the top 16 as well. Same with Ciara Christensen and Tasha Wright, who will be the 40th and last starter in the Cup Series field. Your full Cup Series field looks a little bit like this. Violet Hale, the rookie for Ludwig Motorsports, top of the board in qualifying yesterday. She'll start front row in a Ludwig Motorsports front row lockout. Penn Harrington and Thomas Rogers in row 2. Sit behind them is Fords 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the starting grid. Megan Davenport and Ben Kreider sit in row 3. Celine Robinson, the highest placed Dodge for Arrowhead Racing, in row 4, alongside Kira Rigney. Ciara Christensen and the first debutante of the season, Evie Pearson in the 81, filling in for Evangeline Porter. She starts 10th today for that Black Rose Racing machine. Sonia Walker and Chris Everett sit in row 6, ahead of Cole Matthews and Darrell Everett Jr., teammates in row 7 for Darrell Everett Incorporated. Chase Clark and Fred Jones in row 8. Roberta Crown Jr. and Zoe Black make up row 9, ahead of Jack Kreider and Satomi Ray, who round out your top 20 here in Richmond. Had a little bit of a line for a second. This row, not completely accurate. Chris Everett is not sitting in row 11. Delana Delahaye, though, is in this 11th row. This actually seems very inaccurate. We will refer to the old-fashioned tables for a second to get to the right information. So rows 11 and 12, as we see them. That's where you'll find Levi Allison and Alex Coleman in row 11. Jacob Schenkel and Michael Norman make up row number 12. Gavin Gray and Edward Jackson, row 13, also incorrect. Keisha Fox is well further down the order here. Gavin Gray is alongside Edward Jackson in row 13. Row 14 is correct. That's the Emerson Motorsport teammates, Cam Anderson and Celeste Sullivan. Neola Force and Daryl Bird in row 15. That's also correct. Carmen Sienna, Riley Dominguez in row 16. Caitlin Hunter and Matilda Atalanta in row 17. Also correct. Keisha Fox, the correct position for Keisha Fox is in row 18 alongside Benedito Magalhaes. Glenn Delahaye in the correct position in row 19 alongside Chris Pauley. Taylor Cording and Tasha Wright, the Swift Autosport teammates, in row 20. That is correct, except for a couple of the earlier rows in this running order. It looks like those are actually frozen from the way they were at Atlanta a week ago. so not sure why there's the graphical glitch there. But we got you sorted out the hard way, reading it out loud off of the note sheet we have here in front of us here in the broadcast booth. That being said, we have 400 laps ahead of us. It'll be a very grueling race for these drivers. Nowhere near the types of wide open action we saw at Daytona and Atlanta the last couple of weeks. So let's go ahead and let's send it trackside for those most famous words in all of motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
You heard the command to fire engines. 400 laps await. AT&T Champ Car World Series here in Richmond. 300 miles, 40 cars set to get underway. We're glad you're with us here on CBS as we get the party started. Saturday night action here in Virginia. Over 65,000 in attendance. It's time to go racing. The green flag flies. We're underway for the Toyota 400. Hale leads the opening lap here of the Toyota 400 in trouble down the back straightaway. And this is why Sienna, Force, Coleman, Hawley also involved, Delahaye involved, as are others. So under caution early here in Richmond. Let's take a look at what happened. Car on the fence, that's Zoe Black. Oh, Gavin Gray just really messes it up there, and nowhere really for anybody to go further back. So damage needs to be repaired for a lot of the cars here. Some top off with fuel. Make it early adjustments while you have the chance with this freebie. Drivers are very unhappy with the fact that qualifying and practice took place in the daytime here in Richmond. Especially with the race taking place under the lights. You see the damage on the 96. Sienna starting in 31st. Not where she wanted to start. Not where she wanted to be here on the opening 5 laps here in Richmond. I think one car might be out of the running. 31 in the yellow force might be out. As they browse and peruse through the field. I think that is the case. Neil LaFour is the 31. An early casualty here in Richmond in a multi-car crash triggered by Gavin Gray getting really loose out of turns 3 and 4. Piling up Force, Sienna, Pauly, and others. There's Force still on pit lane. So not completely out yet is where we find 31. Still on the pace car as they do cleanup work. There's Forrest returning to the racetrack, so not out of the running, but well off the lead lap. So in the 96, we'll have 40 cars on the racetrack still. When we go racing to start lap 8 is the signal that we've been given. Hail your pole sitters, led every lap so far, but it's still early going. But Harrington jumped up to the 2nd spot. Thomas Rogers up to 3rd over Victor Oldham the 3rd. Davenport in 5th. Cole Matthews up to 6th ahead of Celine Robinson. And Kira Rigney, Ciara Christensen, and Evie Pearson, where she started in the 10th spot. Lights on the Toyota pace car as we're ready to go racing here. One of the larger movers in this race so far has been that of Michael Norman. So the two debutantes in the 81 and the 25, not doing too bad at the moment. Norman will start this restart in 15th. Pace car is in. Restart zone engaged. Away we go. Middle is Violet Hill, losing the lead and losing 2nd place pretty easily there. Also going to get through the door here. Harrington's going to lead lap 8. Not a great restart for the 24 or the 23, both the Ludwig cars. Sliding backwards, Michael Norman moving forward, getting past Oldham. Trouble. Bird in trouble. I think we got caution yet again. Bird and Dominguez. Stationary. Second caution of the night. What happened here to Daryl Bird? It started further back there with Shangle and Everett Jr. Let's take a look at how this all happened. Oh, they checked it big time up at front. And it's Gavin Gray again, this time into Fred Jones. No, actually, it's Pearson and Everett. Chris Everett go into the fence. And that checks up the back end of the field. A lot of chaos here further back. It's Benedito Magalhaes that ends up in the fence. Dominguez trying to force a situation that I don't think is going to quite work, maybe? Actually, it might be more on Sienna. Just throwing her hat into the ring. But huge trouble nonetheless. Back under green. 2 cautions in quick succession here in the opening 12 laps here in the Toyota Owners 400. Top 10 has shuffled. Levi Allison now out in front ahead of Ben Kreider. Gavin Gray has been the epicenter of 2 cautions now. Whether he's been causing it or just in the vicinity. He is now up to third ahead of C.R. Christensen, Roberta Crown Jr. in fifth, Alex Coleman in sixth, Thomas Rogers seventh over Megan Davenport, Michael Norman now in the top 10 ahead of Kira Rigney, who is in 10th. Edward Jackson, Sonia Walker, Satomi Ray, Tasha Wright, and Carissa Everett make up your top 15 ahead of Matilda Atalanta, Cam Anderson, Victor Olden III, and Delana Delahaye, which makes up your top 20. 21st, Penn Harrington. He marks the beginning of the second half of the field. Mistaken? No, never mind. He is in 20th. My apologies there. Celine Robinson is 21st. Fred Jones, 22nd. Cole Matthews, 23rd. Chris Pauley in 24th ahead of Neola Force, who is still off the lead lap at this moment. Only one lap down. Did get one lap back. That means another yellow to try to get back on the lead lap. Celeste Sullivan in 25th ahead of Violet Hale. Zoe Black, Caitlin Hunter, Carmen Sienna, and Jace Clark round out your top 30 at the moment. Jacob Shangle in 31st, Taylor Cording 32nd, Evie Pearson 33rd, Jack Kreider 34th, Dale Everett Jr. 35th, 36th for Keisha Fox, Riley Dominguez 37th, 38th, Daryl Bird, and last car on the lead lap, Benedito Magalhaes in 39th. Lights out on the pace car, which means we're going green at the end of this lap once again to start lap 15 of 400. And it has been a snail's pace crawl to kick this race off. Allison now out in front to see what he can do. Pace car is in. The field is doubled up. Through the restart zone they go, and the green flag flies. Away we go once again. Ryder and Allison at the front. Trouble further back. Cars in trouble again. Force again. Fox, Everett Jr., Magalhaes, and Jack Kreider, and we're under caution again in quick succession. And more trouble, more huge trouble here. What happened here in the field? This is the restart. Dominguez sends it in on Pearson pretty hard. There's nowhere for anybody to go. Take a look from high above here, spectator cam. Just tries to force it 4 wide, and it doesn't work. Last one in, first one out's the normal rule. And then they crash further ahead here. What happens to cause this incident? Oh, it's Tasha Wright bouncing off of Alex Coleman. And into the path of Violet Hill, takes a couple of shots. So back to live action. Car is beginning to look uglier and uglier. Thomas Rogers out in front, ahead of Michael Norman in his first Cup Series event. Former F1 driver, benefiting from spatial awareness. Satomi Ray in the 3rd spot. Roberta Crown Jr. in 4th. Ciara Christensen up in the 5th position. And then it's Cam Anderson in 6th, Celine Robinson in 7th, Cole Matthews in 8th, Sonia Walker in 9th, Megan Davenport running at your top 10 here. As we approach lap 20, slowly but surely. Rogers and Norman leading the field to green. One more lap under caution here. A lot of wounded race cars further back in the running order. Ford stays a lap down, being involved in that caution. Remains the only car a lap down. Everett Jr., 39th last car on the lead lap. And what a rough start for the pole sitter, Violet Hale. Now down in 38th with a damaged race car. And a lot of work to do, and not a lot of patience to work with in the process. On the pace car will be going green to kick off lap 21 here in Richmond. Ford's at the front to get this restart started. They qualified 1, 2, 3, and 4. Rogers started 4th, now up in the front of the field. Michael Norman from 24th to the 2nd spot. Satomi Ray and Berto Crown Jr. in that 2nd row in the catbird seat. To the restart zone we go. We're back underway here in Richmond. Great restart there for Norman. And he gets clear into turn 1. Huge check up there further back. Anderson. And Rogers immediately takes the lead right back from the 25. He drifts well up the racetrack here. So keep an eye on the racing further back in the crowd where all the trauma's been. Rogers leads. Here comes Ciara Christensen around Satomi Ray for 2nd down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4. Ray just with the racetrack. And through goes Sonia Walker. Celeste Sullivan up to the top 5. And caution is out again. I believe it's for Chris Pauly. I think it is. What happens here? 100% it is. Cars in the fence, Zoe Black and Gavin Gray. And Pauly's the one that gets bit for it. So under caution yet again here in Richmond. We'll take a second to step aside for our first break for our local stations. Stay tuned here. It's been crazy here in Richmond, but more to come after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Toyota Owners 400. We are getting ready to go back underway. A wild race so far. We have already had 4 cautions. And of the 26 laps completed, 21 have been under caution procedures here. In front of the field, you'll find Sonia Walker, the defending Cup Series champion, and the debutante in the 81 for Black Rose Racing, Evie Pearson, out in front. All 40 cars back on the lead lap. We're back underway here in Richmond. And Pearson got a rocket launch on that restart. Here comes Keisha Fox and Penn Harrington around the 60. Again, all this trauma, all the trauma has been further in the back of the field. Chris Pauly got spun off of cars in the fence. Keep an eye out further back. Well, as well as further forward. That was Sullivan in the fence. And looks like the 96 of Sienna trying to recover. It looks like the two may have made contact. The trouble all the way throughout, and everyone in trouble again. Chris Pauly in the cautions out again for the 5th time. And it is Chris Pauly. After Sienna and Sullivan almost had a near miss. Everyone just trying to make up positions as quickly as possible. Clark trying to give space to Ben Kreider. Ends up turning down across the back end of Chris Pauly, and they both show up the racetrack, as does Ben Kreider, who was the odd one out in that 4-wide exchange. And so Pearson had some laps led. As cars come down the pit lane, Michael Norman will inherit the race lead. Then it's Chris Everett behind. And then Cam Anderson and Victor Oldham will move up into the top 4. Chris Pauly involved once again has gone a lap down this time around as a result. But it's former F1 driver Michael Norman now out in the front of the field. Five cautions in less than 30 laps. That is a caution less than every 6 laps. Michael Norman out in front, getting some valuable time. And you know what? His running experience and open wheel may not be super useful as far as navigating traffic, but it's helped the spatial awareness. They don't have spotters over in Formula One. Makes things a little bit more interesting. Spatial awareness is a very important asset here at this point. Knowing where not to put the car, trying to keep the car clean. I think that was Michael Norman's first priority, and so far he has done a good job of that, but still, we haven't even gotten a tenth of the way through this race. And they've been on the racetrack now for 25 minutes. This is an important sort of distinction here. There is a 3-hour time limit that these races have to be completed under unless there are extraordinary conditions. Things such as rain will negatively, will obviously, let me kind of rephrase that as we go back racing. Weather effects pause the timer. So if there's a red flag for rain, the timer is paused. It's 3 hours of on-track time that this race has to be completed by. We are 30 minutes in, and we have completed 33 laps here in Richmond, Virginia. So as clumsy as these drivers are, it's less time for them to be able to race it out on the racetrack here. As the pace car comes in the 5th restart is underway. There goes Al Everett, taking advantage of the rookie to get out in front. In trouble further back. Huge crash. Car upside down. Shangle. Shangle's the one upside down. And this one looks to be the most serious crash of the night. 6th caution. Huge damage on multiple cars. Here's a look at what happened. Everyone trying to take advantage of positions here. Oh, Camyron gives a shot to the 16. And the 16, after sliding up against the wall, goes up and over with the assist of Dominguez. That's huge shots further back. Sonia Walker takes a massive hit. On board Atalanta. Field comes to a complete and sudden stop at turn 2. Goodness gracious. On board with Ben Kreider. Because he got away from this. Keeps it far left. Oh, and he still gets turned. He got turned by Everett. Goodness me. And this race has become an absolute disaster. Back to live pictures. The pace car underway, leading. Now his 30th lap on the racetrack as Fred Jones gets to the front of the field ahead of Evie Pearson. And issue that this causes, that is, it exacerbates the problem at the front of the field. Well, throughout the field, really. Everyone getting impatient. Everyone trying to make moves happen. It's going to become a lot more frantic. There's going to be a lot of anger in this race. Just now started lap 40 at the start-finish line here, and it's taken a whole 35 minutes for this to take place. Not the most pleasant experience, I think. I think the field can probably agree on that so far. Fred Jones, though, at the front of the field, lights out on the Toyota pace car. Means that we are about to go racing here once again. Our 6th restart of the night. 32 laps under caution of 40 that we have done. Coming to start lap 41, it is Jones, Pearson, Rogers, and Christensen. Oldham and Fox in the top 6. Green flag flies. Away we go. Not as smooth of a restart there for Pearson. And Fred Jones will have a chance through turns 1 and 2. And it is trouble almost immediately further back. But we do get a lap under green. It is Fred Jones, Thomas Rogers, Victor Oldham, and then Roberto Crown Jr. up to the 4th spot. Sienna, that wounded 96 car, drifts out wide. And Force somehow skates through and comes down pit lane. Atalanta in for more repair work being done. Oldham gets through for 2nd, trying to chase down Fred Jones. Pearson slots in line 9th, ahead of Cole Matthews, behind Carissa Everett. And slowly but surely, laps being put together. Oldham challenging Fred Jones. At the front of the field here in Richmond, lap 45 underway. Coming to a completion here. More work being done there for Atalanta's machine as they try to repair some of that car. Going more and more laps down. Only 2 cars out, Davenport and Walker, from that 6th caution of the race. But it affected over a half a dozen cars. Rigney just at the racetrack. Everett had to check up to avoid running into the 80. And Pearson in tow just behind. Roberto Crown Jr. in 8th. Tasha Wright up to the top 10. Started this race 40th and last. Now in the top 10. And has pulled away from Levi Allison, who's in the 10th spot. Keisha Fox in 11th, trying to make a move happen here. There's Harrington, 21, going to force it 3 wide for that 10th spot. And Harrington's going to get such a good run. He's going to challenge for that 9th spot as well with Tasha Wright. Sienna and her wounded race car surging back forward. Gets around Anderson. Will get around Allison and maybe around Sienna's own teammate there, Keisha Fox, side by side across start finish line into turn 1. And Sienna will push through. And now racing is spaced out a little bit here. 38 cars on the racetrack, although Matilda Atalanta has had multiple trips down pit lane here. Just trying to figure out how to fix that race car. And you see Atalanta kind of coming down pit lane again. Top 4 altogether make that top 5. Kira Rigney's in the conversation. Here comes Rogers around Christensen as Oldham gets to the quarter panel of Fred Jones to try to go for the race lead. Sends it through turns 3 and 4, and without a doubt, Victor Oldham back to the front of the field. Here comes Rogers, here comes Rigney. And Pearson in the top 5. New race leader officially for the first time, Victor Oldham, the 3rd, out in front, and he's got himself a nice 3 or 4 car length advantage over Thomas Rogers. Rigney in 3rd, Pearson 4th, Christensen 5th. And Harrington, just like that, drops down to the 8th position behind Carissa Everett. Fred Jones down to 6th. Rigney sitting in that 3rd spot, looking to challenge the 2. Meanwhile, lap traffic coming up. Jacob Shingo already 2 laps down. Will go a 3rd here. Not bad for a car that was upside down at one point in this race. Little slideways there for both Rigney and for Pearson. And here comes Christensen. Look to the inside. Door was shut. Jones 6th. Everett holds on to the 7th spot. And this could be pretty intense. Harrington pushes his way through around Everett, and Atalanta was cycling across pit lane. Tasha Wright in the 9th place position, still ahead of Crown. Sienna to 11th. Matthews and Bird battling for the 12th spot, and Bird's going to get that spot pretty easily. Here comes Cam Anderson and Edward Jackson as Hunter falls. Not only to teammate Sullivan, but to Robinson, Michael Norman in the 18th spot. Make that 17th now for him. He will fall positions yet again. And there goes Violet Hale into the top 20. A lot of wounded race cars, and you're seeing that right now as they circulate. There's your race leader, getting around Chris Pauly, the 43. And now this race has settled into a rhythm for the first time in earnest. Rigney in second, getting around Thomas Rogers. Evie Pearson trying to do the same from third. And she does. Rogers falls down to fourth. If not, could fall down to fifth. There is Christensen with some overlap into turn one. And Christensen goes to the fourth spot. Rogers now down to fifth. Sixth for Harrington. Atalanta still cycling around at the bottom of the racetrack. Fred Jones has dropped down to 8th. Carissa Everett back up to 7th. Tasha Wright in 9th. In range for Fred Jones there in that Mercedes. For the Crown Junior still in the top 10, but Sienna has closed in. And her 96 Dodge to try to get into the top 10 here. 38 cars circulating. Delay going a lap down here. Oldham has some clean real estate. And thankfully there's not a lot of density for the lap traffic that is coming across right now. He can make a move, slot back into the racing line, and then line up the next pass. Jack Kreider next on the list in the 33rd position to go a lap down to your race leader, Victor Oldham III. Pearson around Rigney. That's the second spot for the debutante. 5 Truck Series seasons for Pearson, the third-generation superstar. Granddaughter of 3-time Cup Series champion Eric Pearson. Cup Series debut, trying to chase down the 23 of Victor Oldham III. Gets around Jack Kreider. So will Kira Rigney. Not a lot of issue there. Oldham picks off Alex Coleman. Taylor Cording up next. Pearson moves on around Coleman with ease. Not so easy there for Rigney, just based on timing. Racetrack through 3 and 4. Pearson is closing in a little bit now on Oldham. Traffic there up the road as Shangle goes another lap down, and Darrell Everett Jr. tries to stay on the lead lap here. Darrell Everett Jr. sitting right now in the 30th position. Just like that. Telegraph it. Make it easy. Pearson did the same thing for the second spot. Trying to stay ahead of Kira Rigney. A little bit of a bump and run, potentially, for Rigney. Didn't quite work out. Pearson held on to it. And does get around cleanly the 8th of Everett Jr. Victor Oldham III sitting at the front of the field. He has now led 20 laps in this race, the Toyota Owners 400. Gray goes a lap down here. Dominguez next on the list. Benedito Magales, the Brazilian rookie, trying to get up and running. Now that we have gotten some green flag running under our belts, drivers feeling a little bit better about where they're at. Rigney drifts up the racetrack. Not a good look for the 80. Drove just a little bit too hard there in 1 and 2. And Pearson trying to get around the 66 of Dominguez as Atalanta really just circulating, doing a smart thing. It's allowed in the rules, technically. Wounded race car, not able to keep touch as far as pace goes, but spending more time on the pit lane. They're circulating, hoping that more chaos does happen. Try to pick up more spots, more points. Remember, there's no top 35 provisional through the first 5 races this season. There's none at Daytona, none last week in Atlanta, none here at Richmond, none next week at Bristol, and the last week of the wide open qualifying is Nashville. Now caught up to a bulk of cars. Force on the lead lap, I believe. Nope, Force is 2 laps down, about to go 3 in 35th. Delahaye also off the lead lap there. Delahaye now 2 laps down. Still technically a lap ahead of Force in the 31. Find a way around that of Cole Matthews. That is for the 17th spot. Here comes Robinson around Allison. And Allison will drop a couple spots here. And what this is doing, you see the traffic that is held up now, the 80 and the 81, has allowed Rigney back around Pearson. And really it's allowed Rogers around as well. There's Harrington back up in the 2nd spot. So both Pearson and Rigney have had trouble with the lap traffic, and it's allowed Harrington and Rogers back into the conversation. Harrington now back into the 2nd spot. Led 4 laps earlier in this race. Up in that run for the 2nd spot. There's Christensen in the 6th spot on an island at the moment. Chris Everett also on an island in 7th. Then you have Tasha Wright under pressure there from Carmen Sienna, who has made it into the top 10. Tasha Wright having to get around her teammate. Ooh, Sienna got really tight there in turns 3 and 4. And loses some time there in Tasha Wright. 10th place where you find Fred Jones and Daryl Bird, your Daytona 500 winner, up into the 11th position. Roberta Crown has dropped back down to 12th. Cam Anderson in 13th ahead of Keisha Fox. With Edward Jackson in 15th, Celeste Sullivan in 16th, Celine Robinson in 17th. The race leader not far away here. Both the other Ludwig Motorsport cars sitting 21st and 22nd at the moment. They are not loving life. Victor Oldham III, meanwhile, having the time of his life here at Richmond. Although he knows that an unfortunate situation is going to come up where he's going to have to put his teammates a lap down here to keep the momentum going. Ben Kreider, and will do so. And the teammates in front of him now battling it out. Hale leaves Michael Norman left for dead there. Stay on the lead lap there, moves up into the 20th position, I do believe, getting around both Clark and Norman. Norman now stuck on the outside lane, no grip there. Nothing but marbles and dust up in the upper lanes. Does Hale make a move on Allison to stay in the lead lap here? Goes up a little bit out of turns 3 and 4. I think Oldham is definitely cutting Hale a little bit more of a break here. Unfortunately, I think Hale's going to have to kind of concede the position, and at least on track, and accept going a lap down. Here comes Chase Clark to take that 20th spot back. Here's Harrington. I think that's part of why Oldham had to move. Harrington was closing in pretty quickly. Rogers up to 3rd, has gotten around that of Rigney. Rigney's dropped down to 5th. Pearson back up into 4th position. You saw Sammy Ray, no bumper on that 4 car. A lot of battle scars here at Richmond so far. Have a great run there, turns 1 and 2. Got checked up there by Allison. Not by Allison, but by Hale and Clark. And Hale once again to the bumper of the 19. Oldham gets around Cole Matthews and puts 18th place, a lap down. Next up on the list is this car in question, Celeste Sullivan, in the 11 for Emerson Motorsports. Jackson top 15, the next milestone marker for Oldham. Hale runs up the racetrack once again. Harrington not giving much of a choice. Also work to get around Matta Allison. Allison moves on to the 19th position for now. been pretty wacky, the start of this race. A lot of different leaders during the 6 different caution periods we have. Now we've gotten some running underway. It's been the 23 car in control. 46 laps led of 96 completed. Here as Oldham has to try to force his way around Sullivan. Sullivan trying to stay on the lead lap, and it will be to no avail. 11 car goes a lap down on lap 97. And down the field goes as we get closer and closer to the 100th lap mark here in Richmond for the Toyota Owners 400. So it was a marathon, not a sprint, and this is why. Now we are well and truly underway, and it is Victor Oldham III who has grabbed it with both hands and is trying to run away from this man, Penn Harrington, who is trying to close in. Thomas Rogers, Evie Pearson, and the 80 of Kira Rigney round out your top 5 here. As we put the first quarter of this race to a close in 2 laps. A lot of position battles at the moment. A lot of cars sort of in line. Tire wear becoming more of a factor here. Almost 2 seconds of pace loss now as the tires fall apart. And a lot of coming back down pit lane. Normal procedure there. Lap 102 now underway. For race leader Victor Oldham, who gets around both Jack Kreider and Keisha Fox and 1 go. Jack Kreider now 2 laps down, Fox 1 lap down. '15th place Edward Jackson next to go a lap down. Gets a little help there in turn 1. And Oldham will elbow his way through. Traffic here as Cam Anderson sits in front, and then you have the multi-laps down. Taylor Courting ahead there. And Oldham says, thank you. I will take that opportunity down the back straightaway and to make great use of it. Next up to go a lap down is that of Celine Robinson in 13th position. And then there's a huge gap to Roberta Crown Jr. and then to Daryl Bird in the 11th spot. We have crossed the 25% point in this race. Green flag now for almost 60 laps after a wacky start here in Richmond. We'll step aside for a break for a local station. Stay tuned to the AT&T Cup Series. It's Saturday night action on CBS. Welcome back, everyone, to the Toyota Owners 400 here at Richmond Raceway. You see the sea of cars floating on by the racetrack here. We have completed 120 laps of 400. Victor Oldham III leads the way. He is caught up to the 13th place car of Celine Robinson to try to put her a lap down, and will do so relative ease using Riley Dominguez as a pick. Three cars out here in the opening 120 laps. One of the 6 cautions took out, the 6th caution of the race actually, took out Megan Davenport and Sonia Walker. largest crash of the evening so far. The Toyota Atalanta tried to keep that 42 car on the racetrack. Highside Racing has ultimately pulled that car from the racetrack. Not really able to gain a lot of positions with everyone else still circulating. And now with the field as spread out as it is, we have 37 cars on the racetrack. 11 cars remaining on the lead lap. Darrell Bird, your Daytona 500 winner, next to go a lap down, as he is stuck behind Alex Coleman, car 29 in position 29 at the moment. Christian's fallen behind Carissa Everett to get in the top 10. Tasha Wright sitting in the 8th spot still. Sienna in 7th as things sit. But it's thin pickings here. Yeah, this battle in the top 5, which is interesting. It's going to be interesting here because Pearson's going to lose a spot to Thomas Rogers. It's all traffic management is what it has fallen down to at the moment. It is all just traffic management, as it typically is here at Richmond. The interesting perspective here is that we've crunched the numbers up here in the CBS Sports booth. There doesn't appear to be a realistic way, with the 6 cautions and the extended time under caution that we've had to start off this race, there does not appear to be a realistic way to get this race to end at 400 laps. We mentioned at the top of the show, this is a new rule this year. Races have to be completed within 3 hours of on-track time. We are at 1 hour and coming to 5 minutes here in about a lap, give or take. It's 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 42 seconds at this moment. You have to go a full... You can only go up to 3 hours of on-track time. And the reason why is because broadcast windows is a huge portion of this, but also this is a Saturday night event. You know, this is it's all time scheduled. It's all get these cars home so we can get them re-prepped and ready to go for Bristol. Also, you don't want the fans here until midnight or later. Have a chance to have everyone go home and be safe on the same night. You don't want them staying until 2 or 3 in the morning. Without factoring in pit stops, because that'll adjust the time as well. If they were to go all the way through at the pace they're running right now, it'd be 351 laps that we'd get to. So we'll see. We will see. The time is now very much of a factor for the field. And you see this bulk cars just sitting around the race leader. Older tires is going to be a factor here. We have lost, and this is a part of the equation too. Oldham's fastest lap, a 21.5. He is now running 23.5. He has lost 2 seconds of pace. And obviously, traffic's going to be a factor here, but he's being passed now by Robinson, who's trying to get back on the lead lap here, having gotten around Darrell Bird. Now, Oldham's going to be stuck on the outside lane here, and this is going to be a perfect opportunity for Kira Rickney to go to the front of the field. Maybe. Oldham leads this time, but they're going to almost be 3 wide here. Darrell Bird racing to get his lap back, and here comes Kira Rickney, the car 80, who has not led a lap yet in this race, to pin the 23 behind the 79 Delahaye and grab the race lead here. Mistake there from Robinson, almost put that 98 under pressure. Bird defending the inside lane. It's going to force Rickney up the lane. And here comes Harrington to grab the lead right back. And so the top 3 have closed in. 4th and 5th, still a little bit further back. They have struggled a little bit more with the lap traffic. That's Rogers and Pearson struggling further down the order. But Harrington now back in front. And that's something that we were hoping to see at the front of the field. We just hadn't seen it because Oldham had been so efficient early on in the race at managing lap traffic. Daryl Bird defending the inside lane because he knows that that is the gateway forward. And he's trying to stay on the lead lap there. Very smart move. Can't say I hate it. Sitting in 12th on the lead lap. That is where we're at right now. 37 cars running, only 12 on the lead lap at the moment. Calling on pit lane, Jace Clark. So as the pit window opened, is the magical question. Looking to see if we can find him on the racetrack here. Frantically searching. There he is. There's car 7. Whoa, a little bit of contact. And the 80 goes into the fence. Clark on fresher tires. But Rickney on the lead lap. And Clark knows that this is his opportunity to take advantage of fresh tires that no one else has at the moment and move forward. Oh, huge shunt. Oh, he is 100%. He is packing people in. Gave a huge shot to Daryl Bird. And that sent Alex Coleman up into the fence. Harrington just behind him. He gets on the tire so much more efficiently right now, but he knows he's got very little time on those fresh tires before they start going away. He went 4 laps down on that pit lane exchange. He's looking to use this undercut to try to get back on the lead lap if he can. Or at least leapfrog some places here. Gets around Robinson, who will now go a lap down, it looks like, to Harrington. Jack Crowder doesn't provide much of an obstruction there. The physicality for Jace Clark. Telling people to move out of the way with the chrome horn. Gets around Matthews, Magalhaes without a rear bumper. I think the radio message has been sent from crew chief to driver to calm it down a little bit for the 7 camp. Rousing and cruising to the field. Oldham's down pit lane. So the pit window appears to be open. Oldham seeing the pace that the 7's got, and he's like, maybe I can do that. Too wide. Further back as Jack Crowder tries to just stay out of the way. His brother Ben gets by him on the inside lane. Got Evie Pearson up into 3rd. As the pit stop's underway, it's Harrington, Rigney, and Pearson, your top 3 at the moment. And you're guaranteed to go at least 2 laps down when you make a pit stop here. Very slow pit lane, very short track will do that. Oldham back on the racetrack. Surging forward is Jace Clark. And Oldham's now going to have the fresh tires in the field. A couple more cars in pit lane. Kreider down pit lane. But he was not on the lead lap as it was. LaForce down pit lane as well. Not a lot of takers, though, right now. On that caution, on that pit stop sequence. Sullivan down pit lane now. Warmed up tires compared to brand new tires, and I think just lack of grip there on the outside lane. Not helping him out at all right now. But it is a significant difference. That's going to make things a little bit more difficult there for Oldham, trying to get around the 28 of Kreider. They did do a little bit of repair work on the 28 during that pit stop, as much as you can do without losing a bunch of time. More cars down pit lane. Harrington down pit lane as well. So lead has been handed off to the 80. Kira Rigney now out in front. And staying out, so does Pearson. So the 80 and the 81 going long. There's Sullivan, fresh tires on the 11 and the 31. And Force goes on by 34th place for the 31. Will not get back on the lead lap with this pit stop sequence, but trying to use the undercut to get at least maybe a lap back. Maybe get an extra lap back if you can. And there's Thomas Rogers in the third spot. And for the old tires, you're hanging on for the ride at this point. Lights are out. Caution. We have a caution. Who is that caution for? Hard to tell. But caution is out. It'll pick up the 81 and the 80. And that pins a lot of the field a lap down. First car on the lead lap, Keisha Fox. Oh, sorry, first car lap down is Keisha Fox. Excuse me. So this is going to be interesting. The pit stop's now underway. Looks like someone spun coming down pit entry. It might have been the 3 of Everett. Let's take a look. Not going to let us jump back more than a couple laps here. No, it's not Everett. Was it Anderson? It 100% was Anderson, and it was Harrington that spun him. And Harrington just didn't know that he was coming down pit lane there. That's all that was. And that's rough. So pit stops underway. It'll be Pearson out in front, Rogers, Rigney. And this will be interesting. They're going to come down pit lane here. So as the field cycles through, we'll step aside for a quick break here. 7th caution of the night. Ends an almost 110 lap green flag run. Stay tuned. We'll have more to come after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the AT&T Cup Series. Toyota Owners 400 here on CBS. Getting ready to go back racing here. 7th caution of the night. Pit stop sequence is interrupted here. It's Evie Pearson and Thomas Rogers front of the field. We have now 11 cars on the lead lap. After the free pass and the wave rounds for those that stayed out during the caution. And it's time to go back racing here in Richmond. The green flag flies, and away we go. And here comes Rigney, going to put it 3 wide immediately. In an effort to get around the race leaders, and does. And it is a smorgasbord further back. Car on the fence, Cole Matthews, we keep it green. And Kira Rigney with a huge advantage over Tasha right now up to 2nd. Krista Everett, Celine Robinson, they are also on lead lap here. Here comes Victor Oldham looking for positions. A little bit physical there further back between Pearson and Sienna. Hunter a lap down, trying to race forward here. Rigney out in front. Took advantage of the restart there, put Pearson on the back foot. And now the mixture begins. Harrington stuck a lap down. Very important there in that exchange, and I think so is Oldham. No, Oldham's on the lead lap. He got lucky. He got very lucky with when he came down pit lane. He took a wave around, so he was a lap down when the caution came out. Now on lead lap, so is Violet Hale, also took the wave around. Tasha Wright in second at the moment. Robinson in third. Oldham up to fourth. Jackson is the first car a lap down. 12th place is where we find him. Thomas Rogers in fifth. Sienna up to sixth. Pearson seventh ahead of Daryl Bird, who's 20th. He is a lap down. Sorry, he is 2 laps down, excuse me. Same with Dominguez. Christian's on the lead lap here. Trouble, Tasha Wright. And just as the race was looking good for the 90, it goes poorly. And you saw the lights are on the pace car, or out. The pace car will have to come onto the racetrack for the 8th time for the stricken 90 of Tasha Wright. So Kira Rigney in first. It'll be Victor Oldham now in second, ahead of Celine Robinson. And Edward Jackson will become the 11th car on the lead lap as a result. There's the pace car. So it was already a very precarious situation time-wise for the race. I think has now been pushed out of reach well and truly. Engine failure for the 90. Bringing our 8th caution of the night out here. As we approach lap 170, we're not even halfway yet in this race. So as the field cycles through and as they clean up the leaked fluid on the racetrack, we'll step aside for a quick 60-second break. We'll come back right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Toyota Owners 400, your 8th caution of the night, coming to our 8th restart of the night. Following the stopping on track of Tasha Wright for an engine failure. Eleven cars on the lead lap here, 36 now still circulating. As we get ready to go back racing here in Richmond. 229 laps to go. Away we go. Kira Rigney gets a pretty good jump there at the front of the field. A little bit argy-bargy further back. That's Everett in the middle. 3 wide. Surrounded by a lot of lap cars all of a sudden. Oldham drops down pretty significantly down the running order here. I believe down now to 9th place is where he sits. Brittany enjoying some clean space, using it while she's got it. And 36 cars still running, spreading out just a little bit as the field circulates once more. Battle for second as Thomas Rogers makes a look here and will try to make a pass on Robinson, and it'll be pretty easy and straightforward. Robinson goes well at the racetrack. And here comes Violet Hale up to third. Edward Jackson also in the conversation. He is now, remember, he just got his lap back. He is already now up into the top 5. Caitlin Hunter now the first car a lap down in that 12th position. Pearson struggling this time with lap traffic in 7th place at the moment, but behind several lap cars. The struggle being shared right now by Christensen. There's Keisha Fox as well in 9th. And 10th place, Everett also struggling. Fisher Oldham down now the last car on the lead lap in 11th. How quickly things change for the 23 camp. Brittany leads the way pretty comfortably over Rogers. Sienna now up to third. Violet Hale dropped down already now to the 5th position as Hunter mixes it up there, trying to get a lap back potentially under racing conditions. Sienna really pressuring the 2 car here. How much? About 185 laps change for Sienna. Damaged race car. You see the damage. The panels are not flush. Missing a couple pieces there on the hood of the car. Running on board is the chase. Thomas Rogers. Already worked around a couple of the cars here. That's Chris Pauley going another lap down. Gap has opened up pretty substantially. 3.5 seconds is the gap already. Clean air makes the world go around, that is for sure. Whatever they've done to Oldham's car, it has not worked. That car is struggling. It is now, it feels like an anchor, it looks like, at the moment. Jackson up to 4th, keeping Hunter at bay at the moment. Violet Hale was raging earlier in this race. Now sitting up in the top 5 for Love of Motorsports. The pole sitter has had a wacky race, to say the least, in the first 190 laps. Laps being ticked away here. Brittany really just chipping away at the traffic. Already around Delahaye, already around Cording, looking to get around the 19 of Allison. A little bit of wheeling and dealing there for Hale and Robinson as they get around Shangle. Gerson stuck right now behind Fred Jones, who sits in the 13th position. Brittany's still stuck behind Allison here. Allison 1 lap down, the last car 1 lap down. To the left. And we'll send it through turns 1 and 2 to get around Allison. Allison now 2 laps down. We have crossed the halfway point now on lap 202 here in Richmond. Rigney leads the way and has really just sort of walked away with the lap traffic in hand. Rogers in second, walking away from Sienna, who's having handling issues with the damaged race car, up in third. Still not a lot of pressure further back. There's where you find fourth place. Robinson, who's gotten around Edward Jackson. Jackson in fifth. Violet Hale in the sixth spot. And pole sitter having to do a recovery drive. Pearson has gotten around Darrell Bird. And now closing in seventh. And it's a huge gap all the way down to car 8th position. That's where you'll find Sarah Christensen in a huge amount of traffic. Christensen, Everett. And a couple others just struggling mightily. Oldham struggling as well. Keisha Fox in the 11th position. Closer to the leader than anything else. Race leader Rigney caught behind lap traffic. Here comes Sienna, closing in off the tail of Matthews. And this could open the door for Sienna to grab some laps led here. Sienna has not led a lap yet here in Richmond, and I think this could change. And it will change. Top 3 under a blanket now, and Sienna out in front. Rogers also going to follow through. Sienna takes a look at getting around Matthews now that they have gotten around Shangle and Rigney. And Matthews not able to really contest that. So Sienna will grab a bonus point for leading a lap here in Richmond. Top 3 under a blanket. And that's a gap, and then you'll find 4th place Robinson trying to pull away as Pearson tries to recover from a poor restart there before the halfway point. Now Pearson up to 5th. He has gotten around Jackson and gotten around Hale. Hale slipping down to 7th, but still in the conversation at the moment for at least being in the top 5. As Robinson gets held up by Allison and company. Cording battling with Delahaye, not for position. Cording is battling Cole Matthews for position. 20th and 29th on the racetrack. As Rogers got held up there by Clark. Race leaders struggling a little bit more to get around some of the lap cars. Daryl Everett Jr., 27th on the racetrack. Trying to avoid going 3 laps down. Cam Anderson, the last car, now 1 lap down in 18th. You have the Kreider brothers. Been 2 laps down. Jack Kreider in 32nd is 4 laps down. Anderson getting around Jack. And just trying to add a little bit of padding. The leaders that are just behind. More that these 3 struggle to get around Everett Jr. Better it's going to bode for this group further back. Granted, it's still a long way back to get to Robinson, to get to Pearson and company, but you don't want to dilly-dally because we saw how important tire wear was to manage. And you don't do that sitting in the tire track to somebody else. You do that by finding clean air and running your real estate. Here comes Pearson around Robinson. The door was open, and Pearson found a way through up to 4th. Rigney has found a way around. The 96 of Sienna used Daryl Everett as a pick. And now back out in front. Ahead of Rogers, Sienna now in 3rd. Now here comes the Kreider brothers with Anderson in the middle. There's Pauly in the mix to throw things around. And here we go. Battle for the race lead once again. It is Rogers to the inside lane. He wants the race lead back and gets it. Rogers has led 7 laps today. Rigney has led 55. Oldham has led the most so far, 87 laps led earlier on in this contest. .180 laps to go and 74 minutes remaining on the clock. Car down the pit lane, that was Kalen Hunter. That took a stop down pit lane. Was the first car a lap down, now 2 laps down. But on fresher tires here. So the mathematics have shifted a little bit. If we can average if we can average 24-second laps across the rest of this race, we could get to the finish with all 400 laps completed. Well, we've got to average, and that's hard to do. I should preface, that is very hard to do. Because pit stops are still a factor. There's still at least 2 pit stops in this race. He's now behind Sienna. Sienna leading once again. Hunter has refreshed his tires in the field and trying to use them. And you see lap cars are right there. Keisha Fox last car on the lap. More cars down the pit lane. That is the 66 of Dominguez for Face Pergher Racing Team. Down a little bit. Pearson got thrown well off by the traffic jam there in turns 1 and 2. Went well up the racetrack, didn't need to. Dominguez now with the fresh tires in the field. More cars coming down pit lane here. Very short pit window. We do have cars coming down pit lane as Rigney goes for the race lead once again. Sienna has now led 13 laps. It'll be lap 58 led for Rigney, who are behind lap traffic here. Keisha Fox, as we mentioned, last car on the lead lap at the moment. And then up the road, you have Everett in 10th. You have Oldham in 9th. And you have to go all the way up the racetrack a little bit to find Christensen in 8th. So the actual lead lap car is pretty well spread out here across the field. He's coming out of the pit lane. And Norman comes down pit lane, the 25. Rigney and Sienna nose to tail. Thomas Rogers has lost a lot of time in this conversation. They're navigating lap traffic the best they can at the moment. 170 laps to go here in the Toyota Owners 400. 8 cautions in this race in the first half. Really slowed down the pace. It's time to turn on the jets here. 4 retirements in this event. Tasha Wright with an engine failure. Mechanical problems after a crash for Matilda Atalanta. And Rex retirements from the lap 40 crash for Davenport and for Walker. 36 stars 36 cars still circulating. From Sienna all the way down to Jacob Shangle in 36. 14th lap led for Sienna. As cars come out of pit lane, that is Chris Pauley exiting the pit lane. And these two, the 96 and the 80, long-time rivals on the racetrack here. Rigney goes on through, gets around Sienna for second, for the race lead, I should say, puts Sienna down in second. And Pauley on fresh tires will use them to some effect. Although he is quite a bit off the lead lap here. 9 laps down, it does appear. Sorry, 8 laps down at the moment. Eleven cars on lead lap. Last on lead lap is Keisha Fox, who is right there just ahead of the race leaders in that orange Moxie machine. Both the leaders will get around Gavin Gray here between turns 1 and 2. Fred Jones there. 14th place Fred Jones, now 2 laps down. That's where we're at right now. Keisha Fox trying to stay on the lead lap. And now Rigney has a little bit of separation. Dangerous here at Richmond. You can use that in a lot of different ways. Fox will not give up this lead lap easy, especially with her teammate battling for the race leader, trying to get back to the race lead. Checks up the 80 there into turn 3. Brittany going to try to power out in turn 4. No dice though. Got to really send it in through turns 1 and 2, and Brittany just can't get there. Keep in mind that Fox is battling with Carissa Everett. And Sienna now struggling mightily with position here. Cameron Jackson came down the pit lane, so we have now 10 cars on the lead lap with Keisha Fox dangerously close to going a lap down. Fox still trying to hold on to the lead lap here. Sienna trying to close back in. Thomas Rogers still dealing with traffic on his own. And Pearson has broken away from that battle for 5th. Robinson now largely not even in the battle for 5th. Kind of just has it undisputed here at the moment. Christensen up to 6th around Hale, who's in 7th place. Holden there in 8th. Chris Everett in 9th. Last car on lead lap now with Rigney getting around. The 97 of Keisha Fox. See the gaggle of cars here. The Raiders are now in. Rigney and Sienna in this group. Let's see. And here goes Chris Everett going a lap down. A little bit of a brotherly shove by Darrell Everett Jr. to throw Carissa into the firing line. And now a lap down. Matthews will try to get a lap back. Teammates with the 8. Worked out a little bit there. Sienna still trying to get around Levi Allison. And Rogers has still not yet gotten around Jack Kreider. Fresher tires here, the 25 and the 66, and that's part of the complication here is that you've got cars on better tires at the moment. Huge hit for Everett. Huge hit for the 3. That was a wild smack for the 3 out of turn 2. Great save, but a huge hit. Trying to force her way through. Norman will try to follow. Rigney out and clear at the moment. Car in pit lane, I believe that was the 24 of Hale. It is. So Hale's going to make a pit stop here with less than 150 to go in Richmond. We got Oldham now in the 7th spot. Last car on the lead lap. Behind Magalays, going to RACECAR 21st at the moment. Regaining the race lead, getting around the 54. Sienna on an island has gotten clear of most of the traffic around and has left Thomas Rogers behind. Fresh tires, Violet Hale. It's the inside of the 3. And moves right on through. Here's Harrington. Also on the charge. Also on fresh tires. But they are not for position. Harrington now 2 laps down. Hale 1 lap down. And Hale gets right on around, and they get around Thomas Rogers. Getting close to getting a lap back, I should say. Hale working around now Chris Pauly and Satomi Ray. Ooh. That was a tight moment. Harrington not saying no for an answer. Gets around Hale and then forces his way around Keisha Fox. Hale will get around as well. Car in pit lane, Darrell Bird. Carissa Everett also on pit lane. And Victor Oldham III has officially gone a lap down as Rigney has taken over the most laps led position. 88 laps led for Rigney, 87 for Oldham. Earlier on in the race. little bit of a gap to the 6th place car. You'd have to find Sarah Christensen right here in this battle with Celine Robinson. As they muster on around Jace Clark. You can remember that a lot of fresher tire cars in the field at the moment. And Sullivan moves the 98 out of the way, trying to bulldoze through on fresher tires and cost Robinson the 5th position. That was almost an absolute disaster, is what it was. Kreider on pit lane, Rigney out in front. I think Oldham's going down pit lane this time. Nope, not this time. Just making it hard on his teammate to try to get through. Hale using the outside lane, like, fine. I'll use the dirty lane to get through. Thank you. So Hale does get through. Harrington gets one of his laps back. He was 2 laps down, now he's 2 laps down. Hale is 2 laps down. I had that misspoken. Trying to get to 1 lap down before Rigney comes down pit lane here. Momentum going towards turn 1. And Rigney leaves a space for Hale to go through. Sienna trying to hold on there in 2nd. Some cars going long. It worked out. We had a caution that interrupted the pit sequence, and it added security for those that were already on the lead lap here. Pearson up to 4th. Closing in on Thomas Rogers there for that 3rd spot. Sullivan in 23rd. Fresher tires for her. And is that was skid marks, but is that a caution? I don't think it is. Indeed, it's not. Not sure who it was. Someone trying to come down pit lane. Couldn't quite make it happen. Pearson gets around Chris Everett. Not for position there. He's trying to get clear of lap traffic. Everett in 8th. Pearson in 4th. Here's how that all stacks up. Hamilton gets around on the outside lane. Hale gets around on the inside lane. And here comes the 8 as well of Everett Jr. And you see those with fresher tires just sort of blowing on by. Robinson on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap here. And the reason is straightforward. If you can get yourself to about lap 295, that pit stop will be your last pit stop in the race. Oldham down pit lane. Could not get that far. So those on the lead lap trying to stay out as long as possible. Obviously, there was those that were like, okay, we're going to need 2 stops to make this happen. Which is reasonable. But you have those that are now trying to stay out all the way until lap about 295 is the magic number, we think. So try to get this on just 1 stop. Rigney pushes on through around Fred Jones. Fred Jones now 3 laps down. Robinson not under any immediate threat at the moment. He's trying to hang in there. We have 54 minutes remaining as far as the race timer is concerned. Here comes Keisha Fox down the pit lane. And caution is out. And it is out because of this. Huge incident. Pearson and Rogers involved. Huge checkup. Magalhaes upside down. And the overlap on fresh and old tires is enormous. And those that were hoping for a chance in trouble. Benedito Magalhaes going up and over. Cars trying to get on through. And this happens here off the nose of Cole Matthews. Huge hit there by Evie Pearson. And Thomas Rogers gets a piece of it as well. And so the caution comes out and disrupts pit stops once again with 6 cars on the lead lap. But this also confirms 1 pit stop to the end of the race. You cannot go to 130 laps here. No one's been able to stretch more than 110. So that does create a little bit more of a frantic pace here in this event. So while they get re-racked and get sorted, we'll give this another go. We'll step aside for a local station break here on CBS. Stay tuned for more of the Toyota Owners 400 from Richmond. Welcome back, everyone, to the AT&T Cup Series here on CBS. Getting ready to go back racing here in Richmond. Kira Rigney out in front. 9th caution of the night. So far, as we get ready to go back racing, it's Rigney, Sienna, Pearson, and Rogers, your top 4. The pace car is in. And the green flag flies. Away we go. Car in the pit lane coming down to the green. That was Anderson in the 10. Christensen makes the jump forward up to 2nd place around Sienna. And Violet Hale trying to make a move as well. And Violet Hale comes down the pit lane. A lot of cars coming down the pit lane here. And the reason why is unfortunate here. You see a few taking service, some not. The reason why is they had to serve a stop-and-go penalty for false start infringements. So a slap in the face for those that had just tried to get on lead lap. In trouble, Pearson out. Pearson returns the pit lane under her own power, so we stay under green. But insult to injury there, especially for those that had just gotten back on the lead lap. They have a false start infringement on the restart. Jump starts on the racetrack. Rigney in the front of the field. And here comes Christensen and Sienna. So Pearson's day ends early with an engine failure. Despite running well, it'll all be for naught. And Pearson will end up being classified with a 34th place finish as things currently stand. Sienna charging back forward for that 2nd spot, sends Christensen up the racetrack. And pole sitter Hale had just gotten the lead lap back, now back down a lap in the 10th position with the retirement of Pearson. Robinson in 4th. Victor Oldham, he is the first car a lap down at the moment in 8th. Michael Norman looking further down the running order. He is still rolling in 19th position behind Chris Everett, who sits 6th on the lead lap. And the time ticks away. We're coming to 111 laps to go here in Richmond. As Rigney gets around Coleman with little issue there. Sienna now up to 2nd. Christensen up to 3rd. And you see the pace of the 24 car. Carving around Levi Allison out of turns 3 and 4. Second and third got around Jace Clark pretty okay. They come up on Alex Coleman. Car still in the pit lane. Jack Kreider, not officially retired from this race, but seems unlikely the 28 will return to the racetrack. So it's Kira Rigney out in front. All right, battling over the place. This is for position for 14th between Zoe Black and Celeste Sullivan. Seeing what they can do on the racetrack here. And trouble, Gavin Gray. And he's not going to be able to make it back to pit lane. He's off the racetrack. Are they going to throw the caution for that or not? Really important question to be asked here as Christensen gets back around the 96 of Sienna. Looks like we're staying green. Rigney once again unassailable at the front of the field. As we complete lap 300, we have 100 laps to go here. So we're going to step aside commentary-wise. The pictures will stay going. We're going to take a commentary break here. It has been a long road here in Richmond. Kira Rigney leads the way. So enjoy the sights and sounds of Richmond here on CBS. 50 laps to go here in the Toyota Dealers 400 from Richmond Raceway. Pit stops underway as you see Fred Jones come down the pit lane. Kira Rigney and Ciara Christensen going long. See how far they can get if a caution comes out beforehand, before they come down pit lane, and help them secure a spot in the top 10. Sienna came down pit lane, now battling with Thomas Rogers for that 6th spot. They're 1 lap down. Rigney, you see on the racetrack there, trying to put Jackson an extra lap down, and does. So Jackson now 2 laps down. Jackson is also yet to come down pit lane. So it's not universal. Not everyone's come down pit lane yet, but some coming down pit lane early, trying to take advantage of an undercut that could be very effective in this race, especially at this late stage. Hale comes down the pit lane. Yeah, Force coming down pit lane as well. And more cars shuffling on through. Courting and Clark are down pit lane. Rigney with a little bit of separation. Robinson a lap down on Merritt. Rigney has led 184 laps so far. Looking close to eclipse the 200 lap lead mark here in Richmond. More cars coming down. There you see that is Robinson and Jackson coming down the pit lane. See, Oldham also came down the pit lane there. And this leader come down pit lane right now. Down the pit lane is where you'll find Kira Rigney. How about Ciara Christensen? Christensen's already down pit lane. So the field will shuffle once again. We'll see how things stack up. Rogers and Sienna looks like back on the lead lap here. And this could become a battle for the race lead. Both of them have some clean air to work with. Cross our finish line here. There's Rigney. They're 100% going to pass Rigney. And that is now for the race lead, the 2 and the 96. Rigney stayed out too long, but will have fresh tires at the end of the race when it matters the most. Only 1 car separation between first and second, and then third of Rigney, and that is Cam Anderson. As Chris Pauly leaving pit lane. Delahaye getting around Coleman. And Rogers out in front. 10 laps left for him here. Now they'll approach Coleman. And Sienna's going to take advantage of that opportunity to get back to the front of the field. Sends it on the inside of the 29. Shoves what's going on at the racetrack. Rogers gets through as a result as well, but Sienna takes the lead. 40 to go. Rigney in third, trying to close in. 4 cars on the lead lap. Christensen in fourth. There she is. That is currently how they sit. 5th place, Carissa Everett. Everett, the first car, 1 lap down at the moment. It is Sienna out in front. With less than 40 to go. Lap traffic, though, coming up in spades. 4 cars here. Delahaye, Ray, Jones, and Shangle. Ray and Delahaye both get through, and Fred Jones will follow suit. And Sienna, full head of steam, makes quick work of the 16. 8 cars out of this race. Last car out was Gavin Gray. 32 cars still circulating on the racetrack. Time is of the essence. We are close to completing this race under green. And the caution is out, and that is going to be problematic. And I believe it was Caitlin Hunter. Perhaps, maybe. Indicating that it may not have actually been Hunter here. And the leaders stay out. That will give Everett the lead lap. We'll see if we can find a look at what happened here. Was it, in fact, the 9? It 100% was not the 9. Browsing and perusing here. Oh, that's what happened. It was Robinson and Coleman in turns 1 and 2. Not even Robinson. It was Christensen. Robinson just avoided the scenario. So Christensen moved Coleman up into the fence. Some lap cars will come down the pit lane. And we'll step aside for our last commercial break here in Richmond. Some more racing in the close of the Toyota Dealers 400 after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Toyota Owners 400 here on CBS. Get ready to go back racing here with 30 laps to go. Sienna and Rogers front of the field. Rigney and Christensen top 4. Chris Everett, 5th car on lead lap, getting the free pass to get ready to go back racing. 5 cars on lead lap, and away we go. Back underway. Car in pit lane, Cammy Anderson. Leads. And away we go. Everett struggling further back. But right now, sitting 5th car on lead lap, last car on lead lap. Seems like relative safety at the moment. Rigney on the outside, losing time, losing positions to Oldham and Hale. 1 lap down apiece there. Christensen looking for a race win. Has to get around Sienna, has to get around Rogers to do so. If the caution were to come out now, it'd be one of those cars only lap. Norman down pit lane, Courting down pit lane. Into 26 laps to go. 3 cars under blanket for the race lead. Sienna looking for second once again, trying to get around the 87 of Christensen. Rogers leads the way. buffer now. 23 and the 24 both trying to get back on the lead lap. That way if the caution comes out, they don't need to worry about the free pass. They'll already just be there. Sienna trying to get back on the top spot of the podium here. A little loose there out of turn 4. And it's going to cost time, and it's going to cost space. Here comes Oldham in the 23. Hale in the 24 also goes on through. Zoe Black will go on through. 2 laps down is the 36. Excuse me, 3 laps down the 36. In the 12th spot. So Rogers has this late. How hard do you fight this if you're Rogers? Hale to the inside of Christensen. Whoa, and Oldham gets loose. Loose under braking there. 3 wide, and Zoe Black's got the fastest car of the group right now. It opens the door for Sienna to go back into the 2nd spot. And now it's Hale up to 6 with a chance to go after the race leader. Do not give up that bottom in the corners. That is a guarantee at this point. You will lose space, you will lose time, you will lose spots. And here comes the 36 of Zoe Black. This could mix things up here. Hale up the racetrack. Sienna's going to go through. How much does lap traffic interfere in this? I have a feeling it's going to be a decent amount here. Here comes Black. Trying to get one of those 3 laps back. And does so. Rogers up the road. Sienna to the inside lane and clear. Oldham back up into the 6th position. Keisha Fox will try to do the same thing as Zoe Black just did, but her teammates at the front of the field. Pretty antsy, this activity right now. Sienna leads the way. Black is now 2 laps down in the 12th spot. You have Shangle, lap car up ahead. Then you've got Pauly and Coleman further up the road as well. Pauly and Coleman both 13 laps down, so that is a battle for 30th between those two. Sienna has a little bit of space here with 15 laps to go. You gotta play it safe. You gotta play it safe. 2 cars in between Sienna and Christensen at the moment, including a teammate in Keisha Fox. Sienna was not happy with qualifying. Qualified 31st. She said media loved the racetrack. The track just didn't seem to love her back. My, how that can change. 13 to go. Christensen's on the move around Fox. What does Oldham do? Again, this is him trying to get back on the lead lap. Lap traffic could be a pick for him as they approach Jacob Shangle and company. In third, a little bit further back, it's Thomas Rogers ahead of Fred Jones, who's 3 laps down. Satomi Ray, 3 laps down, and Violet Hale, who is 1 lap down, but now stuck in traffic. 4th place, Kira Rigney, stuck behind cars that are 3 laps down, or sorry, 2 laps down. Penn Harrington and Edward Jackson, 2 laps down apiece. And the last one we lap at the moment, Carissa Everett in 5th. to be such a lonely road. They've gotten around Shangle. And Sienna just trying to keep everyone at bay, coming to 10 laps to go here in Richmond. Pressure is on. Black around Coleman with ease. Sienna will have to try to do it into turn 3. Lap car holds up the field just a little bit. Sienna with a chance. Covers the inside lane before Oldham could make that jump. And Keisha Fox doing her due diligence, forcing the 87 behind the 9. Or behind the 29, excuse me. And so now there's an extra buffer. So now an opportunity exists for Oldham to get around here and get back on lead lap without costing Sienna the race lead. And instead, he gets loose again at turn 1. And Fox goes through. Now for position there. Fox still 13th. Oldham still 6th. But now, Sienna's got backup. 7 to go. Six to go and counting as Sienna tries to get around Chris Pauly. A race of absolute attrition. Left us 5 cars on the lead lap, coming to 5 to go. Sienna leads, and a little bit of gap. Super important. Fox had a chance to go and get around and get an extra lap back and try to chase down the 36 of Zoe Black. Instead, Fox stayed stationary behind the 96. Four to go. Three miles left in the conversations. So Black out and clear. Not really much of a threat there. Focus right now at the front of the field. 3 to go. Can anyone get around the Arrowhead Racing duo? Oldham in 6 looks set to finish a lap down in that 6th spot. And it'll be a Ludwig 6-7 with Violet Hale in that 7th spot at the moment. 2 to go. 1.5 miles. For Sienna to get her first win of the season on a weekend very emotional, with Arrowhead Racing announcing that it was selling to Fiasco Motorsports at the end of the year. Sienna would not have a drive with the team in that process. The white flag is in the air, 1 lap to go. Four cars under a blanket, but Fox being the perfect teammate and preventing anyone from challenging. Out of turn 4 for the final time. Sienna wins at Richmond from 31st on the grid to victory lane. And a huge assist at the end. Keisha Fox playing the teammate game to perfection to help secure the race win for the team. Ciara Christensen 2nd, Kira Rigney grabs 3rd over Thomas Rogers at the end of the race. Rogers actually ends up in the 5th position behind Carissa Everett. And the race comes to a close here under the lights in Richmond. Sienna, Christensen, and Rigney, your top 3 here tonight. And so let's go over the top 20 results here in Richmond. The Toyota Owners 400. Carmen Sienna, the race winner over Ciara Christensen. Kira Rigney in third. Carissa Everett in fourth. Thomas Rogers rounds up the top 5 of those on the lead lap. Lubbock Motorsports 6th and 7th at the finish. Victor Oldham the third, and Violet Hale, after starting on the front row, could not convert that to a victory, but top 10s will help them nonetheless. Celine Robinson in 8th. Roberto Crown Jr. sitting in 9th. Penn Harrington rounds out the top 10 here in Richmond over Edward Jackson, Zoe Black, Keisha Fox, and Satomi Ray, who rounded your top 14. Fred Jones gets a top 15 effort for his troubles. Riley Dominguez in 16th ahead of Caitlin Hunter. Celeste Sullivan, Michael Norman on his debut, gets top 20. His first time in an oval is successful, I think, as far as most metrics go. Cole Matthews rounds out the top 20 here on the race results from Richmond. And points, they are important. Carmen Sienna, Victor Oldham the third, top of the board. They have broken the century mark. 106 points for Sienna, 103 for Oldham. Violet Hale leads the rookie conversation, third place, tied with Thomas Rogers. Penn Harrington in fifth ahead of Kira Rigney, Celeste Sullivan, Ciara Christensen, Roberta Crown Jr., and Cole Matthews, your top 10 here as we leave Richmond towards Bristol next weekend. Evangeline Porter, after 2 races, still 11th in the points despite missing here tonight. Delinda Zalahay in 12th ahead of Carissa Everett, Celine Robinson, Taylor Cording, and Keisha Fox for top 16. Daryl Bird, Ben Kreider, Megan Davenport, and Wyatt Jones in 20th. We'll see Wyatt Jones on track again in Bristol next week as he tries to keep himself afloat and in contention as long as possible. Well, that'll do it from us here in Richmond. We're glad you joined us for a wonderful night of action. Chaotic, but fruitful. We head over to Bristol Motor Speedway for the race at the last Great Coliseum next Sunday right here on CBS. Join us then. On behalf of everyone here for the Horizon Corporation, AT&T Cup Series, all the partners and everyone here at CBS, stay safe and stay healthy, and have a great night. We'll see you next time from Thunder Valley.